Eddie Radosevich, George Stoia here from Cincinnati. Oklahoma wins 20-6. Welcome back to the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel, Soonerscoop.com post-game report. George, a 20-6 victory for Oklahoma today. They moved to 4-0 on the season, and I think the theme of the season so far, Oklahoma defense, is it back? It feels like they're taking those right steps.
They're for real. I'm comfortable saying it. Look, they're going to play some better offenses this year. The real test being in 2 weeks. We all know when they play Texas, that's going to be the real test, and those wide receivers and that quarterback. But what the defense did today, that was one of the more impressive performances I think an Oklahoma defense has had maybe in the last decade, Eddie. I think Chris Oven threw a stat out there. I don't know if you saw this, but first time since 1987, 36 years since Oklahoma has not allowed more than 3 touchdowns in the first 4 games.
I was born in 1987, folks.
That's crazy. You're old. That's crazy.
Hey, you know what? I don't know about this. The spirits are high. Everything's good. No, that is amazing, though. Yeah. First time that Cincinnati's held without a touchdown or under 7 points since Alabama did it in the national semifinal a couple years ago. It was I know that you were trying to finish your thought there, but it was. He basically just said, yeah, you're an asshole for cutting me off. We can say that. It's YouTube. Yeah. I think we can say that. Yeah, we're all in a good mood here. Danny Stutzman, though, another excellent performance on top of what was, I want to say, a complete team effort defensively.
Danny's been incredible. I think it was Deshaun McCulloch that was saying after the game that he's been playing like the Butkus Award winner. He's playing like one of the best linebackers in the country, and I completely agree. The way he's been able to snuff things out, it seems like he's seeing everything really well. I mean, you talk about those, I think they had 3 fourth-down stops. I think Danny got 2 of them, filling the gap, coming up, playing the run. Did a really good job tracking down Emory Jones, especially on that last one. So he's been phenomenal for him. He's not missing tackles. I thought Jaron Kanak, before he got hurt, he was playing really well, which, by the way, we should say Jaron Kanak has been released from the hospital. He had a chest injury, was spitting up some blood. I'm not exactly sure what it was. He is going to be traveling back with the team, I'm told. So that's really good news. So
it was, one of those things, too. And let's go back to the first quarter. Let's start with where everything kind of started today. It felt like, the vibe in the stadium was very strong. I thought Cincinnati showed out early. And Oklahoma, they had to face some adversity that they hadn't seen all season, George. And I think that was kind of one of those check marks of once you start conference play, how's this thing going to respond when you're not playing in Arkansas State, when you're not playing at Tulsa? And they navigated it. It wasn't the prettiest thing, especially offensively, but you get out of there and you still look up and you have the lead at halftime.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that you take away from this game in terms of what they did defensively and overcoming some of that adversity, the red zone stops were unbelievable. I mean, it's one of those things that last year's defense, previous defenses, Cincinnati makes a big play. They get in the end zone. They eventually find the end zone. What Key Lawrence comes up with a huge interception in the end zone to stop one of them. They miss a field goal. Cincinnati does on another.
That was maybe one of the worst kicks I've ever seen. Really I think that was a shank.
And then he turns around and makes a 55-yarder on I think the next possession. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's where you talk about this defense. Yeah, they're going to give up some plays here and there, but they're able to come up with stops when they absolutely need them. And if we want to get into the offense, that drive, that 75-yard drive, that gives you a little bit of hope that they can turn things around. And they had things open today. Either Dylan missed a couple throws. You think of the long pass to Farouk that he overthrew, the fumble inside the red zone. So there's plays to be made there. I think the offense can still figure it out, but you got to be really pleased with the defense, especially when you talk about what Brent Venables said, and I looked it up 657 days ago. He said he wants to play relentless, suffocating, physical defense. And today, I think that's the first time we've seen it. In 17 games in the Venables era, today is the first time that we've seen it from the start to finish.
How we doing, boys? It was a good performance, though, for Oklahoma. Let's talk about offensively. I know that there's going to be a lot of murmurs out there, just the way that they played. It seemed like it was one of those issues that we have some fans yelling at us here. Oklahoma fans showed out today, by the way. It was a very strong presence inside the stadium here at Nippert Stadium. Let's talk offensively, though, the answers that they were able to get. Each time that it seemed like Cincinnati was going to throw a punch, they were able to punch back, and they put together really good drives.
Yeah, I mean, you think of the 75-yarder in that second half. Marcus Major rips off some big runs. Dylan Gabriel comes up big on a 3rd down. Those type of plays, that's where you get confidence from Oklahoma's offense that they're going to be able to figure it out. And even the field goal drive at the end to go up 14, cover. They covered. I think they're now 4-0 against the spread.
There's a lot of people sweating that out at 13.5. I can tell you that.
Yeah, so I think that was really impressive. But, they don't get the call in the end zone on Farouk, the pass interference that should have been pass interference. But, yeah, I mean, look, the offense is what it is. They're going to be inconsistent at times. We've known that. But when the defense plays like they do today, Oklahoma should be able to win a lot of football games.
Let's talk about Marcus Major. I thought that there were points in the third quarter, and I asked Jeff Levy about this after the game. They've talked so much about getting running backs in rhythm. You didn't see Tawi Walker today. You didn't see You didn't see Javonte Barnes. You didn't see Gavin Sawchuk. He was out there on a kickoff team. But it seemed like there in the third quarter, for the first time maybe all season, for the first time in 12 quarters, it seemed like Marcus Major was starting to find a little bit of a rhythm. And maybe that's something you can build off of going into next week against Iowa State.
And I think the offensive line deserves some credit, too. They started wearing on that Cincinnati defensive line that we heard about all week. Seeing Javonte and Gavin a whole lot. And I know that I asked Jeff Levy after the game, what is that running back rotation? How do they decide that? And it sounds like Marcus just had the best week of practice.
Wide receiver Andrell Anthony makes a couple big plays yet again. He's
7 catches, 117 yards.
21 receptions through 4 games after making 19 in his career at Michigan. There wasn't a whole lot there in the pass game, but they took what they had. And I think that, you only scored 20 points today, but at the same time, it feels like it's close. It's hard to kind of explain.
They left probably 14 or 21 more points on the board, and really they had a lot open in the passing game. Dylan missed a couple throws. There was a couple drops. You think of the one of Drake Stoops over the middle on a key third down. Was thrown a little bit behind.
him.
Hits him in the hands. Those type of plays. Again, the pass interference to Farouk in the end zone. That's one you want back. I think of the throw to Jaden Gibson in the end zone that was missed. The Farouk long pass is the one that everybody will circle. So just some misses there. One thing though, Eddie. We didn't see the Arnold package today, and I think that's a good thing because it just wasn't working. So I was glad that they stuck with whatever the plan was today, short yardage wise.
How about Dylan Gabriel finish one off in the end zone?
Who was the guy carrying him in? There was a few offensive.
It looked like it was Tawi Walker that was doing a load of the carrying.
Yeah, so that was a great play, and I thought Dylan played okay today. You can't turn the ball over in the red zone. Obviously, that's the big mistake. You got to hit some of those other throws, but he took what was given to him. I thought he made the right reads for the most part. He didn't put the ball in harm's way a ton. So, and they did a good job protecting him. I think only one sack today, and it looked like it was just a misread, but I thought that they did a good job protecting so far.
Overall, Oklahoma improves to 4-0. They return home next week against Iowa State, and then you got the big one down in Dallas at the Texas State Fair in 2 weeks. Just overall, let's close it out like this. What do you think about this thing? I mean, it feels like from a complimentary football standpoint, this might have been one of the better wins Oklahoma's had in a while.
They took a big step today, right? And is this a step saying, hey, they're going to win the Big 12 and they're going to play for the college football playoff? No, they're not there yet. But this is step one, getting over that hump. We heard it all week. We talked about it, Eddie. 3-0 last year, 3-0 this year. What's the difference? They showed it today. They proved it. The defense is better this year. That is not a question.
It's night and day difference.
Yeah. And now the next question is, can they take it to the next level? Can they get to the level that they can to beat a Texas and get to?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We got some fans. We got some fans.
You bet. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Thank you. How about that?
Have a safe trip.
Lots of OU fans today.
A lot of OU fans. Got to love them out here.
But what I was saying is the next step they got to take is, can they compete with the Texases of the world? Which, sure. And maybe not the Texases, but can they be a college football playoff type contender?
Right.
And if they can go beat Texas, then that's the answer. But first they got to take care of Iowa State. But today, again, Eddie, was a huge step in the right direction, I think.
Oklahoma returns home next week, 6 o'clock kickoff in Ames. We will check back on Monday or Tuesday right here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel, and we'll head up to the press box right now to record the Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast with Kerry Murdoch back in Norman. From Cincinnati, he's George Stoia. I'm Eddie Radosevich. Oklahoma wins 20-6. Impressive performance for Brent Venables' club. They move to 4-0. We'll talk to you next time.